Hey guys, so we're back with another video. I am your host Sleepy Celestial. Now guys, we are back to talk about the third video or the second video, talking about the different parts of the Soul King. Now this time we'll be talking about the right hand of the Soul King, Mimihagi. Now this video is going to be entailing the primal form of Mimihagi. Now we know that Mimihagi came down. We don't know as of now which hand of the Soul King came down before one another, but we know that in one case the possession of Pernita was with Ichibe. Now Mimihage has a direct connection with these three characters. The reason why I say this is because Mimihage first form was originally the regular arm of the Soul King, which once the Soul King was threatened, the activation of the Kamikake, which is a ritual seal that was placed upon Ukitake for his protection or due to his ability of knowing what connection of the Soul King when the Soul King is threatened. Now Mimihage is the only part of the deity that feels more divine than Pernita. The reason why I say this, even though Mimihage doesn't really speak because it doesn't have the ability of advancement, Mimihage has a power where it comes off more of a shadow, almost like the darkness of the world. The Shimigami version of the world is Mimihage. Mimihage's ability to control the stillness ability, which I think plays a huge part into why Yhwach was defeated in the first place, because I feel as if the still arrows that were created from the blood clot of Uryu's mom, and that the connection of Pernita and the connection of Mimihage, how they play a long part into stopping Yhwach in the long run. Because like I mentioned in my previous video, the reason why, Ukitake, even though he is still holding on, even though the core 3 has ended, he is still somewhat alive, and he is still playing the footstool of the entire Soul Society. He's also able to create a barrier in a way where even though he released Mimihage by sacrificing most of his organs, we know that even from the previous cores and when he sacrificed himself, it seems as if most of those things are still being held in position. Now when Mimihage was released from the body of Ukitake, it came off like a black soot. It's this dark form. I think this is its modern form, which looks like a pit of like darkness. It almost looked very ominous, but I think it's not. It's just that it has one eye, and that it looks like it's more divine than the left hand, which is the one that progressed over advancement. The stillness ability doesn't just flow into one thing, even though the stillness ability doesn't fully destroy what has been there. It lingers the progression or any sickness, right? And when the Soul King got split in two due to the influence of Yhwach, due to making Ichigo cut Adonais, we saw that when Ukitake sacrificed himself, Mimihage was quickly and was able to adjust the situation. Now the primal form of Mimihage is this form here. It looks more divine. It has the cloak of, I guess, the hand of the robe that the Soul King was wearing when he splitted the worlds. He looks very divine, and that's even more crazy. And I think it could grow into larger size. But when Mimihage met with Ukitake, he had a childlike form version when Ukitake's parents was praying in that shrine. and we saw that Mimihage kind of like cried and got like emotional, and merging with Ukitake, creating the seal of Kamikake, which actually allowed Ukitake to have two Bankais, two Zanpakutos, because of the influence of Mimihage. Now, what makes Mimihage, I think, more dangerous than Pernita is that on its primal form, we could tell that even though Mimihage doesn't speak, but it's telepathically powerful, and it's able to create dreams, like state of dreams, to allow you to project yourself into its consciousness and the realm of the gods. It seems as if Mimihage projects the primal days, like the primordial world before the three worlds, whereas Pernita is more of a concept of the physical advancement of the world. And I mentioned this before in the Pernita's primal form, is that Pernita was probably one of the bigger aid of creating the Stern Ritters, especially with their Volt Standish, because it almost as if Pernita kind of time skipped the abilities to become a more higher evolution of Quincy. So definitely take notes of that. And like I mentioned before, Mimihage has other abilities, I think, that they're gonna reveal, and that would have been a very interesting thing to see Ukitake release his Bankai, which his Bankai is a representation of two children, almost similar to Shunshui's, but his ability to reflect anything, deflect anything, and absorb anything and redirect it, that kind of stems back from Mimihage. Now, with the left hand and the right hand, with the advancement and stillness ability, I think that when the Soul King sacrificed himself and splitting the three worlds, he did the advancement, but after the advancement he stabilized it by using Pernita's, well, his right hand, which is allowing it to control the government of stillness, which allows it to stay permanent. And the Soul King case, in the Soul King case, we could conclude that he's able to stabilize the world by allowing the government of stillness. So once that occurred, we are able to see the primordial world and how important it is to see more ideas. I think over time for Core 4, they're gonna probably explain more of the position of the hands of the Soul King. Like I said, one interesting thing I also realized as well is that the rest of the Soul King's body are now considered in hell, especially the major parts. So Mimihage, Pernita, I think they are in hell, because there's one more video that's coming up that talks about the Exodia effect, which I call it, that's the idea where Adonais was given the Exodia treatment, which is by putting all the pieces of Exodia, you're able to summon him. I think by putting all the pieces of the Soul King, you're gonna awaken more of his greater power. Just a form or shell of the Soul King was able to do such damage, and we saw that even though Pernita was physically form, it felt as if it was being held back with the chains to not let him progress. And I think that's important to talk about, because we've seen that those two parts of the Soul King, behave way different from any other part of the Soul King. Now, I have a theory where the feet of the legs of the Soul King, where it might reside, and it might have a connection to the Hell Arc, or it could be a connection to where do the Quincy's go after they get defeated. And that's another thing too. If Yuhabak becomes the new Soul King, What happened to the powers of the Quincy's that Ichigo Uryu has? Do they disappear after Yhwach gets defeated? So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think this might be a good idea to research more about that? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.